We're going to start off working on our footwork, where you should be, what foot should be forward, where they should be, right, and balance between them. Right, so, all right, what we're going to do, we're going to put that foot forward, and we're going to go into a lunge. All right, what I'm looking for here, right, is a 90-degree angle in the front and the back leg, right? We don't want to be here where everything's kind of tied up or way too far out together, right? Make sure that you have a pretty good base, and then from there, all we're gonna do is stand up, okay? Now hold this position, right? This front leg, that front shin should be vertical, right? If you're here, you're pushing too much. If you're way out here, you're too far forward, and you're gonna be up on that back toe, okay? We don't want this, right? We don't want this by any means, okay? We want to be up on that back toe. This back leg is just slightly bent. It's not straight, and I don't want it like this, right? At least not yet. It should be slightly bent, front shin is vertical, and now everything is locked in and we're balanced. Beyond everything else, you should be balanced between your 2 feet. Okay, you shouldn't be way heavy on the front leg or way back this way. You should be equal pressure, 50%, 50%. That way, if I needed to, right, the jerk is really heavy, I can come down if I need to, or I can go up. A lot of versatility there. We want your back foot turned out, your back foot turned in, and your front foot turned in. Okay, so what that'll look like is basically this foot is turned here, and this toe, this heel is pointed out. Okay, what that does is it closes your hips to rotation, right? It basically makes sure that we are leveraging our hips to keep us facing straight forwards here. Usually not a problem with this front foot, but if that back foot starts to turn out, we now open ourselves up to this, right, which is a huge problem. Right, if you got weight spinning overhead, you're trying to do this, right, it's not fun. It needs to be turned in. There's 2 things. It follows the natural curvature of your toes. If you've ever done lots of jerks and it's straightforward, you just jam the shit out of that big toe over and over and over again, it starts to hurt after a while. You turn the back toe in, it follows that natural curvature of your toes. It also ensures that we're not putting too much stress on your knees. This here, right, this is one of the only ways in weightlifting you will tear an ACL, right? This knee comes here and caves, that's how you tear an ACL, okay? So safety-wise, we want that toe turned, that heel turned out so that if we do have to go lower, right, we're able to support the knee properly, and we're not just letting the knee kind of fall to whatever position it wants. 2 steps, right? Assuming you don't have to chase the bar or anything like that, it's always front foot, then back foot. The reason for that, right, if I'm balanced here, right, I can go front foot, back foot. Notice I did not move at all sagittally, right? I did not take any steps forward. My hips stayed in the same spot. Everything just goes up, okay? When you have a really heavy jerk overhead, any movement you do forwards and backwards is a liability, right? If you try to recover back foot first, everything just went forward. Always try to go front foot, then back foot, okay? Always. We're going to start working into how to get into that position. The way most people will teach you is just split your legs. Just jump and just get there. Right? It's just that simple. Right? The difference is that you have to realize that there's an anchor leg and a step leg. Right? It's a 2-part. You have 2 legs. They both do separate things. Right? They don't just catch. Right? Your back leg anchors you into the ground. It's through support, right? That's what is going to hit first, and then your front leg is what's going to catch you and solidify that support. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're actually going to make contact. We're going to exaggerate it while the weight is light, catching with that back foot first, right? So in an action, we're going to dip drive, back foot first, right? It's 2 steps. What that does is it gives us leverage to push ourselves through the bar, right? If we're trying, a lot of you guys probably have problems where you catch, and you're way back here, right? The bar always kind of seems like it's in front of you. Could be because your drive is bad, could be because that front leg is landing first, and that's the only support you have, and the only support you have is going to push you back. So we want to leverage that back leg first to be able to give you leverage to push forward and really lock in that position, okay? That front foot, just step it back once and then stop. Okay, so now we're here. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to work on stepping that foot out, right? Because this is about where that foot should be if you were going to extend and then move, right? So what we're going to work on is basically putting that foot where it needs to be in that split. So we're here, and we're just going to step. Mimic with the arms that we have a bar, right? So we're here, and we step and catch. Okay, so we're in our good split position. Now we're going to do a half recovery, step that back foot, put that front foot back, right? And now we have a bar on our shoulders, balance, balance, right? And we're going to step and punch. Bars on your shoulders, and step and punch. And half recovered. Bend, step up a little bit more. Back, back, back. Right there. And step and punch. Okay, good. Right, and now we're going to add a little bit of a dip and drive and step. Okay, still simulating the bars on our shoulders, right? We're going to dip, drive, step. That way we're used to kind of pushing into that back leg a little bit. All right, right now it's kind of easy just to like fall forwards. This is going to get us to go vertically and then step, right? Which is what we're doing in the jerk. Here, right? So up on that back toe and go. Good. And go. Good. Okay, still simulating the arms, right? What we're gonna do, right? Feet are underneath our hips, maybe shoulder width, right? I would prefer underneath your hips. Toes pointed slightly out, right? And from here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna step and step. Kind of the same thing that we've been doing, but now we're placing that back foot into that position rather than having it start there, right? So we're gonna step, step. With the arms, right? Arms lock when that front foot hits, right? So we step back, step, step, okay? So, bars on our shoulders, and go, and go, step. Actually, before we actually do a dip drive, let's talk about it a little bit. This is one of the things that makes the jerk so hard for a lot of people, especially in a community where we already kind of talked about how CrossFit's very hamstring dominant. We like to talk about the hips and the glutes, and those definitely play a role in the snatch and the clean. The jerk is largely quad. It's almost entirely quad, right? It's all about leveraging the fact that the bar is pushing straight down on you. And you just want to use the stretch reflex out of the front of your hips, right, to drive the bar back up, right? Which basically means there's no real hinge. If we try to hinge, you're going to get into this kind of like here, right, where the hips sweep under and then the hips end up forward. You drive the bar forward, all that stuff happens, right? What we really want to focus on, right, is putting the weight in our midfoot with maybe a slight preference for the heel. Right, and then we want to focus on just pushing the knees forward and letting everything come straight down. You've probably all seen the drill where you put your butt up against the wall, right, and you just go straight up and down here. Kind of the same idea, right? But a lot of people still try to hinge in their dip drive. There's no hinge, right? We're basically keeping the chest as vertical as we can, and we're just moving from the knees here and then back. Okay, that's going to get the bar to drive, to come straight down, and then drive back over your head a little bit. Okay, in the midfoot with maybe a slight preference for the heel, and then we're going to dip, drive, step, step. Okay, putting it all together just without everything's nice and locked out. Weights in the midfoot. We're just going to move from the knees. Then we're going to dip drive. Step, step. Recover. Come back down. And go. Right, we just finished driving with the arms. Okay, this is going to get us to drive really well through the legs. And also, for whatever reason, people usually, when they do push press and they dip drive, they do it perfectly. You have no weird things happening with the hips. They shift forward, and then people start to do jerks, and everything goes to hell. Right? So we're going to try to feel what we're doing in this dip drive with the push press, and then we're going to try and do that same dip drive, but now we're going to step, step. Right? So we'll set up, nice good front rack, take it a couple steps out, get set, dip, drive, press, bring the bar back down, and then dip, drive, recover, and then one more. And then return the bar to the rack. One push press. And that's how to get that heel out. Catch the hips as high as you can. Much better. Much better. Big chest, elbows up a little bit, right there. Good. We're about to go a little bit heavier, right? So we're going to just go to jerk singles. Kind of work up to a heavy single, so if we can get some of you guys to PR. Right? Even at the highest level, have a very pronounced back foot, front foot. Okay? Before we were exaggerating it a lot, right? But some people actually lift that way, where it's 240 kilos on the bar and they're doing that. Right? That's just their style. Okay? What's likely to happen is that time between your 2 feet hitting is going to become smaller and smaller as the weight gets heavier. Okay? You should intend for your back foot to hit first. But in reality, they may hit at the exact same time, or just very slightly the back foot hits before the front foot, right? In reality, it's not going to be that, that exaggerated. But I do want you guys to still attempt to go back front, right? Because if you just decide like, oh, okay, same time, you're going to get into this like, you're just falling into position instead of placing yourself there. Okay? This is an active thing. We're actively placing our feet. We're actively moving our feet in the jerk, the snatch, the clean. Everything we do is a purpose. We're never just kind of complacent and falling into position, right? We're always putting ourselves there, being intentful in what we do. All right?